Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again with yet another deck tech featuring a Lost Caverns of Ixalan commander, well, main set card that can be considered commander. And this one's been a bit of a fun one to try and do. I'm going to be honest about it. It's been interesting and a little bit challenging to do. Not from the fact that it's a complicated card, it really isn't, but it's trying to make sure you can always trigger it. And you know, what I'm talking about is Sovereign Okinec Ahau, I think that's how I pronounce it. Okinec. I'm going to go with Okinec. I had a comment the other day about me mispronouncing names. I'm sorry if I've got it wrong, but I'm going with Okinec. So it's 3/4 for 2 green and white. Legendary Cat Noble. Has wall 2, which is nice. But whenever the Sovereign attacks, for each creature you control with power greater than the creature's base power, put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. So, what this basically means is, let's say the Sovereign Okinec has got a +1/+1 counter on them. It means that when that attacks, you look at it and go, okay, so it's got one extra one. So instead of being a 4/5 when we're attacking, it's actually going to get an extra counter and go up to a 5/6 because that's the difference. The next turn is 2 difference, so it gets 2 counters. Next turn, its difference is 4, gets 4 counters, so on and so forth. And that, but you have to attack with Sovereign Okinec Ahau. So, how did I build it? Well, it's very easy to go down the +1/+1 counter theme with this deck, and yes, there is that in there, but I've also tried to include some of the less seen cards in Commander that just do the global power and toughness bumps. I am talking about things like Glorious Anthem. So here we go, this is what today's deck looks like. I will say this deck is built purely for me to use on mtgo at the moment. I haven't got a Sovereign in my collection, so I've gone a little bit over the top with some of the cards in it, so just be aware of that. If you're building in real life, you may want to drop some of these out. So anyway, the land at the start, green and white all the way through, everything you think of is here. One thing I will point out that is quite key in this deck, where is it? There you go, Gavany Township. I think it's been reprinted a few times now, but it's still worth getting hold of one. And this gives you a nice way of pumping up your creatures in combat if need be, as a combat trick, because you can activate it at any stage. But it also means it's something that's very hard for your opponents to cancel. Yes, they may wasteland it, they may do some other sort of land destruction on it. That's fine, we'll cope with that. But if they don't, it does really help you get there with the game. So bear that in mind, because that's one of the cards I'm quite keen on in this deck. As for the main ramp side of things, artifact wise, Tantalite Talisman as you'd expect, Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt. Jeweled Lotus is here purely so it does give me the opportunity to get down the Sovereign on turn 1, because you can go kind of play a plane, sack this for green, cast Sovereign. Having it come down on turn 1 will be hard to deal with because of the wall 2, so it's pretty good from that point of view. Mana Crypt's here just to help us ramp into things later on, along with Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Marble Diamond, Moss Diamond are here, along with what I class as ramp now, the Medallions, the Pearl and the Emerald. There are some spells that ramp, will go into them as well. So what we're looking at really is +1/+1 counters and global pump effects. So we'll start at the beginning. Paladin class is here. You want to get it to level 2 as soon as you can, so you get that global pump of +1/+1, because that will still trigger the Sovereign when you attack, because your power will be higher, so yeah, it all helps. Avacyn's Pilgrim, Birds of Paradise, a little bit of early game ramp to get us there quicker. Hardened Scales is obviously there to do the whole tricks with the +1/+1 counters, getting an extra one. And Elixir of Immortality. Things will get destroyed, things will go to the graveyard, we want to get them back into our deck, hence Elixir is here for this. The next one of the global pumps is the Flowering of the Wild Tree. This is nice because this does actually stack the wards, so actually Sovereign ends up with ward 3 when you have the Flowering Tree in play, as well as +2/+1, which makes them a 5/5 beta, which means your +1/+1 counters go up quicker, but the non-legendary creatures also get +1/+1, so it helps with everybody. Bloom Tenderer is here just to give us a little bit of extra mana ramp if we need it, and it's quite a nice little 2-drop. Bramble Familiar. I like this card from Wilds of Eldraine. Yes, we have to mill things and then put a creature, enchantment or land card onto the battlefield. I'm quite happy doing that with 7 mana. And at the end of the day, worst push comes to shove, is a 2-mana 2/2 Lanoir Elf that you can return to your hand when you have enough mana later on in the game to do the fetch quest. So yeah, I like it, it's good. Nature's Law and 3 Visits have the same ability in the deck to try and go and find us forests, so probably dual lands. So, you know, Arctic Tree Line springs to mind, so you get the green and white off one. And Ozolith, the Shattered Spire, is in here. Now, you could play the main version of the Ozolith. I haven't played it in here because I was trying to cut down on the +1/+1 counter theme. But feel free, if you want to put the Ozolith in, go for it. You can drop probably Avacyn's Pilgrim out to do that. I haven't done it, but it is an option you can do. I like this one just as another way of giving us putting +1/+1 counters on creatures who may not otherwise get one. Sylvan Carotid gives us a bit more of hexproof ramping. And then obviously to protect the Sovereign once we get them into play, the Lightning Greaves and the Boots are here. The haste ability is very nice, and the Lightning Greaves may be slightly better than the Swift Foot Boots because of the Shroud effect, but we'll see. They're basically the same from our point of view, but you know. Anyway, I think Boots on a cat are still strange. It's not Puss in Boots, is it? Anyway, moving across. We have one battle in here, the Invasion of Bellon. Enters the battlefield, you get to have a 2/2 white and blue knight token. Fine, have a 2/2 for 3 mana. Then once you get the 5 damage dealt to the battle, you get a global war anthem, which gives everything +1/+1 again. More bonuses for this. Path of Bravery does the same thing. You get +1/+1 as long as your life total is equal to or greater than your starting one. And when you attack, your creatures give you life, so that's pretty cool. Always Watching, non-token creatures get +1/+1 and have vigilance. I nearly forgot to include this one, that was my bad. The traditional one, since we're not, you know, and I understand the reasons why we can't play Crusade, I've got no issue with that, I understand why the banning happened. So we've got the now standard Glorious Anthem, which should be included in this deck. Branching Evolution, because it's so dirt cheap at the moment on mtgo, I've put in. And obviously, when we get the +1/+1 counters happening, doubling them up is even better. Kodama of the West Tree is also here, because we do have quite a few we do have ways of modifying our creatures with +1/+1 counters, and getting our basic lands out of our library into play is probably not the worst idea in the world. Wood Elves goes and finds us a forest, you know what that does. Gaia's Anthem's the green version of Glorious Anthem. Sylvana, Heart of the Wilds. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, if its controller may draw a card, if that power is greater than each other creature's power, that's fine. We're just using it maybe to do that, maybe to get some mana. We'll see how it goes. This may be a card you can take out and put the original Ozolith in if you want to. Again, another option. Tribute to the World Tree. Chuck's found the +1/+1 counters for us on all our creatures, which makes it very easy to start building up more +1/+1 counters when we get the Sovereign on the go. Gwaelane, the casting director, is also here because all of the little token enchantments it does, the roll tokens, do give bonuses. You're probably going to look at the royal token or the monster roll in this deck, to be honest. You could do the sorcery one if you really need the Scribe, you're a bit land smarted, but you know, the royal one for the ward and the monster one for the trample, pretty much where you're going to go. Had to play Kutzal Malmet Exemplar in here as well. Whenever one or more creatures you control, each with power greater than its base power, deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. You only get 1 card a turn because it's, you know, 1 or more, it's not each creature. So, but it's an extra card draw, and you know, if you're going to have the Sovereign in here, you've got to have his Lieutenant, really, haven't you? Also, the nice little bit that your opponents can't play spells during your turn helps a lot with this deck. Chroma's Will, give us a way to finish the game off. Give everything protection from all colours, double strike, lifelink, indestructible once you've got your commander in play. Fine. Felidar Retreat, +1/+1 counters off the landfall triggers. Loyal, if you're in a put bind, you can get some cats if you need them to have some token blockers. Loyal Unicorn is lovely. Gives everything vigilance until the end of turn when you have it in play, and it prevents all combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control this turn. So, you know, it's combat damage only, bear that in mind, but it's still combat damage is prevented, so that really does help. Mangala, the Diplomat, lifelink, card draw, depending what your opponents do. Marshall's Anthem is a kicked version of our wonderful Glorious Anthem, and we do want to multi-kicker it because it's quite a nice way of getting things back from our graveyard that have been killed in combats, getting some of the creatures back we may need, you know, like Loyal Unicorn or something smaller if we need, Bramble Familiar. Yes, it's expensive, it's a multi-kicker, I'm not going to say it's going to be cheap, but yeah, multi-kicking it for maybe 2-3 times just to get something back, It's doable if you need it to. But it's mainly here for the +1/+1, so bear that in mind. Sky Shroud Claim, just to get another way of going and get some forests out of our library, especially the dual ones, they're not basics. Beast Whisperer, draw cards when we cast creature spells, lovely. Renata, Call to the Hunt. Each creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, and its power is equal to its R devotion to green. This is probably the other card you want to think about putting the boots or the greaves on, just to protect them. So if you can keep this in play, it's pretty good. Yes, Wrath of God, exile effects. Yeah, I mean, just ignoring them, but targeted removal sometimes does go at this, and you do want to keep it in play. Lenore, Autumn Sovereign is also here to chuck around some +1/+1 counters, and then maybe draw a card if we're lucky. And Solemn Sim, land ramp, card draw. You know what Solemn does, so I've had enough. Boonbringer Valkyrie is also here. Backup one. When this creature enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. La-di-da-da. Gets flying, first strike, and lifelink. Defiler of Faith is also here. Get some soldier tokens when we cast some white spells. Virtual of Loyalty, night token. +1/+1 counters at the beginning of our end step each turn, and we get to untap all our creatures, which is great if we're just going in on the aggro plan. Loyal Guardian puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control at the beginning of combat. It's the other lieutenant we want to make sure we have in play when things happen. Defiler of Vigor does it for each green spell we cast. We get to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. Glorious Sunrise. This is here for one reason, and it's the first ability on here. It's the enchantment. If you really need the land or you need to draw the cards, that's fine. But you want to be doing creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample, because then your opponents have a real hard time blocking. That's the only reason. It's repeatable trample every turn, for a lot of the creatures don't have it. Oja Kaslam makes an appearance, mainly because I have a thing about Oja Kaslam at the moment, and yeah, hopefully we'll hit and get a whole load of useful things into play. And they've now fixed it on mtgo, so I'm really happy that bug's been done. Thank you, Daybreak Games, for sorting out that bug. It was driving me mad. Mirari's Wake, another one of global pumping, but it also helps pump our mana up. And Trostani Discordant. There seems to be a lot of steel decks around at the moment. I've played against Agent of Treachery quite a lot recently when I've been playtesting decks, so Trostani seems like an important include to me at the moment, just so we can get our creatures back. But another one that gives us a +1/+1 pump for all the other creatures, not itself, bear that in mind. And you get a couple of little soldiers with lifelink, so all good. Conclave Siege Captain is ridiculous. I'm going to be honest about this. Comes into play, you back up, backup one, so 3 targets for your backup, and then, and I say and then, you go trample. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Oh, wowee. Is this card good in this deck? I really do enjoy it. I'm desperately going to have to get one for real life. I haven't got one yet. I am going to be looking to pick one up in real life and put it in my deck when I get around to building this, because this card is nuts and it's brilliant in here. Ancient Gold Dragon just gives us some fairies. Again, more creatures that we can pump. Old Nullbone, when we can get as a hit, gives us some treasure tokens to speed up our creature casting. Zolprol Hunger Dominus does the whole let's double everything. I don't mind sacrificing a couple of creatures when we get to this level, you know. Pilgrim, Birds of Paradise, I'm looking at you. Or, you know, the tokens if need be of Trostani. Yeah, doubling up our power and toughness each turn. Really very helpful. And Torsten, founder of Benalia. Yep. Reveal the top 7 cards of your library, depending number of creatures and or land cards from among them onto your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. When this dies, we get 7 1/1 creatures. And they do start building up their +1/+1 counters very quickly. Love it. Last couple of bits. 2 cards left. Krayhoof, because why wouldn't you? And the Great Henge, just to give us more +1/+1 counters. Will point out, if Krayhoof comes down and gets a lot of bonuses for your creatures, when they attack, they come in, they get so many +1/+1 counters, assuming Sovereign's in and attacking. It's stupid. Bear it in mind. But that's it. That's my very fast take on Sovereign Okinec Ahau. I really hope I'm saying it right. I'm sorry if I've upset anyone by pronouncing it wrong. You can see me playing this deck this week. This will be happening on the stream on Thursday night. Definitely is the deck I will kick off with, assuming we get people to play. come and follow my Twitch down below. You can find the link, see me down there. Come watch me play the decks I'm talking about. Please hit the subscribe button that's hopefully applied next to me by now. 294, so I'm 6 people off hitting my 300 target for Christmas. So please, if you can, hit the button and come back and see me for the next video, which will be up tomorrow. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.